Right then, here we go with the the next lesson in the series. This, if you remember, yesterday we started writing a text, and the text was an argument called "Should Year 4 children come back to school soon?" And also, if you remember yesterday, and if you did yesterday's lesson, you will know that we did the introduction, and we also did the first two paragraphs, and the first two paragraphs were to do with saying yes to the question. So the title is in the form of a question, and yesterday's work was to say yes to that question. Today's work is to basically say no to that question. Now, as I'm sure you will understand, you can't just say no, you have to give reasons. And what we're going to do is we're going to give one reason, we're going to give actually two reasons, one there and one there. And when we write the reasons, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an initial sentence, initial meaning first, initial sentence, which tells us why the answer should be no. And at the end of that initial sentence, there will obviously be a full stop. After that sentence, we are going to add some detail. And this detail will explain what the first sentence was about. So we're not just saying no because, we're saying this is the actual reason why. So this is adding detail. And then sometimes, not always, but sometimes we can add even more detail if it's something that's quite complicated. So if your initial sentence is nice and easy, then one sentence adding more detail to explain what you're talking about is enough. But if it's quite complicated, then you might need to add one sentence to explain it a little bit, and then a second sentence to explain it in more detail. The second reason, and don't forget these are reasons why we're saying no. So no for the first reason, and then no for the second reason, and these are completely separate reasons. So for the second reason, once again we will write, and in fact I'm going to start writing here, we will write the initial sentence, which will very, very quickly explain why we are saying no to this question. Then we will add more detail, and we will in order to explain what we're talking about. And then, if necessary, and it's not always necessary, we will add even more detail. Oops, running out of space here, I have to go around the corner. So second sentence, we will second part, we will add even more detail if we need to. So let's start this then. Get rid of this. So what I'll do is, like I did yesterday, I will start off with, I will give a little bit of an example, and then I'll let you carry on. So what we're saying is, should the children come back to school soon? And we are saying no. Why would we say no? Surely children should be at school. Well, yes, they should be, but also a lot of children have told me that they actually enjoy being with their family. So that's the sentence. Now, how can we put that in a sentence? Many children have, or some children have told me that they enjoy, or have said that they enjoy being with their family. Right. Some children have said that they enjoy being with their family. full stop. So let's just check the sentence is okay. Some children have said that they enjoy being with their family. Yep, that looks okay. Now, the next sentence will probably explain in a bit more detail. So now I know it sounds obvious, but you'd have to say, well, why is this important? These days, families are busy, children are busy with school, and then they're busy with homework. Parents are busy with their own work and looking after other children. So quite often, families don't really get much time to spend together. They don't get much time to hang around together. Whereas this situation that we're in at the moment has given lots of people lots more time together. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult, but in a lot of cases that's a very good idea. So that would be your second and third sentences to explain the initial sentence that you've got there. So some children have said that they enjoy being with their family, and then you write 2 more sentences to explain why that's important. Okay, now let's get rid of that so I've got more space, and then we'll move on to the second reason. So, should children come back to school soon? We're going to write no, and it's got to be a completely different thing, so it can't be anything to do with children being with their family. So why shouldn't children come back to school at the moment? Well, so this is number 2. Well, some people are saying that children shouldn't come back to school because it might spread the virus more. So some people have said that children might spread the virus more. Okay, because if you're thinking about it, for a long time we've been told you must stay home, you can't go out, or if you do, you can only go out to go shopping, or if you have to work, if you're an essential worker, that sort of thing. So now we're saying, well, yes, let's get children back into school. That's kind of, some people might say that's against what we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks. So therefore, this is a second reason why we might say no to the question, should Year 4 children come back to school soon? Now, if you remember, you can't just write one sentence and then leave it at that. You have to explain things. And once again, I'm not going to do this for you. I'm going to let you do this yourself. So if you do choose this as your reason, then what I want you to do is to explain in more detail why is it that children, or how is it that children could spread the virus even more. Okay? Right, so that's the 2 paragraphs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to write in notes, and it will look a little bit like a planning document, just to show you what you should have written over the last 2 days with these 2 lessons. So first of all, there's the introduction. And the introduction, if you've forgotten, then you just replay yesterday's lesson and it will tell you about how to write the introduction. Then you have to write a sentence which basically says yes to the question, okay? And then after that sentence you have to explain, and after you explain, then you may have to explain again. Okay, so the second explain, I'll put it in brackets because you might not need to explain it again. All right, then, and this was yesterday's lesson still, just summarizing, you have to write a different reason for saying yes, and then underneath that you explain. And then if it's complicated and you need to, you have to explain again. Okay. Then we go on to no, because it's a balanced argument, you have to explain why. You have to say about the no side. So you do the yes side and then the no side. And what I'll do is I'll do the no side over here. You don't have to do that on the right hand side, but it just makes it easier for you to see if I do it there. So you have to write the first sentence which answers the question no, and once again explain what you mean. What are you talking about? Why is it important? If you're talking about scientific stuff, you might have to explain the science as well. And if it's complicated, you might have to explain with the second sentence. Remember, these aren't two separate reasons. These are all to do with the sentence that you've just mentioned up there. That's to do with that sentence up there as well. And then you come up with a completely separate reason. Okay, so this reason says no, they shouldn't come back to school because of this. Let me explain. And this says no, they shouldn't come back to school because of something completely separate. And once again, we explain. And if it's really complicated and you think it might need it, you explain again. Okay, so what have we got so far? We've got introduction, we've got one paragraph which says yes, we should do this, a second paragraph which says yes, we also should do this for a different reason. We've got one paragraph which says no, we shouldn't do this because. We've got another paragraph which says no, it's not a very good idea, so let's not do it. And that's basically it. Okay, now this on the right hand side, this is what we did this is what we did today on the right hand side, and on the left hand side this is what we did yesterday. Okay, so if you want to, you can send me the information, you can send me your work, the work that you just did, and I'll be really, really happy to see it. Send it on Class Dojo, or you can send it on send it by email, attach it to attach it to an email, and I'd love to see it. Okay, good luck, and obviously once again, stay safe.